Story 1. I've been running my small cookie business for about 2 years now. It started when I was 15 and needed money for college savings. My mom helped me get all the proper permits and licenses. We went through the whole process with the city, got my business license, food handler's permit, everything. I bake homemade cookies and sell them at a little booth outside grocery stores on weekends. My younger sister helps me sometimes. She's 13 and really good with customers. She's got this bright smile that makes people want to buy extra cookies. We split the profits 50-50 when she works with me, which she thinks is the best deal ever. Last Saturday was supposed to be a normal day. We set up our booth outside the big grocery store on Main Street like we do every weekend. I had my usual display of chocolate chip, oatmeal raisin, and sugar cookies, all individually wrapped with my business stickers. My sister was handling the cash box while I talked to customers and restocked the display. Business was going great. We'd already made about $60 in 2 hours, and there was a steady stream of people coming and going from the store. Then this woman showed up. She marched over to our booth like she owned the place. Middle-aged, wearing a pantsuit that looked expensive, carrying herself like she was someone important. She had this scowl on her face that immediately made me nervous. "Karen, excuse me, girls, I need to see your business license immediately." Me? Okay? Is there a problem? I reached into my cash box where I keep my laminated license and permit. She snatched them from my hand and barely glanced at them before shoving them back. "Karen, these are all wrong. You can't operate a business here without proper adult supervision." Me, but I do have proper supervision. My mom drops us off and picks us up, and I have all the required permits for a minor-owned business. "Karen, that's not how it works. I'm the regional compliance officer for this district, and I'm shutting you down right now." My sister looked confused and a little scared. I'd never heard of a regional compliance officer, but this woman seemed so confident that I started doubting myself. Me, "I'm sorry, but I've never heard of that position. Can I see your identification?" "Karen, I don't need to show you anything. What I need is for you to hand over that cash box immediately. Minors cannot legally handle money in a business transaction. It's against federal law." That's when I knew she was lying. I'd done tons of research when starting my business, and there's definitely no federal law against minors handling money. But she kept going. "Karen, you're in serious trouble here. I could have you arrested for operating without proper oversight. Give me that cash box now, and I might consider letting this slide with just a warning." My sister instinctively clutched the cash box tighter. My sister, we earned this money fair and square. "Karen, listen here, little girl. I'm trying to help you avoid criminal charges. Hand over the money now, or I'm calling the police." Me, actually, please do call the police. I'd love to have them verify your authority here. That seemed to make her angry. Her face turned red, and she started talking louder. "Karen, how dare you question my authority? I've been doing this job for 15 years. I know the law better than some teenage cookie seller." People were starting to stare. A small crowd was gathering around our booth, watching this woman yell at 2 teenagers over a cookie stand. "Karen, final warning. Give me that cash box, or I'm confiscating it myself." She actually reached for the cash box, but my sister pulled it away. That's when a man in a grocery store uniform walked over. "Store manager, what's going on here?" "Karen, thank goodness. Are you the manager? These girls are operating illegally, and I need you to help me shut them down immediately." "Store manager, and you are?" "Karen, I'm the regional compliance officer. These minors are violating multiple federal regulations." The store manager looked confused. "Store manager, ma'am, I've been managing this store for 8 years, and I've never heard of a regional compliance officer. These girls have been coming here every weekend for months. They have all their permits in order." "Karen, well, obviously you don't understand the regulatory structure of your own district." "Store manager, actually, I think I need to see some identification from you." Another man stepped forward from the crowd. He was wearing casual clothes, but had this authoritative way about him. "Off-duty cop, excuse me. I'm Officer Johnson with the city police. I couldn't help but overhear." "Ma'am, are you claiming to be a government official?" Karen's confidence started cracking. "Karen, well, I work in compliance." "Off-duty cop, for what agency?" "Karen, it's complicated. You wouldn't understand the jurisdictional details." "Off-duty cop, try me. I deal with jurisdictional details every day." The crowd was getting bigger now, and everyone was staring at Karen. She looked around nervously. "Karen, look, these girls obviously don't know what they're doing. Someone needs to supervise their money handling." "Store manager, actually, these are two of our best vendors. They're always professional, they have all their paperwork in order, and customers love them." "Off-duty cop, ma'am, impersonating a government official is a serious crime. I'm going to need to see some real identification from you." "Karen, this is ridiculous. I was just trying to help." "Off-duty cop, by demanding money from minors while claiming false authority. That sounds more like attempted theft to me." That's when Karen realized she was in real trouble. She started backing away from the booth. "Karen, you know what? Forget it. This isn't worth my time." "Off-duty cop, actually, ma'am, I'm going to need you to stay right here while I make a phone call." He pulled out his phone and called for backup. Karen tried to leave, but he gently but firmly told her she needed to wait. Within 10 minutes, a patrol car showed up. The officers talked to everyone: me, my sister, the store manager, the off-duty cop, and several witnesses from the crowd. Karen kept trying to explain that she was just concerned about proper business practices, but her story kept changing. Turns out she didn't work in compliance at all. She worked at a bank downtown and had no authority whatsoever to shut down anyone's business or confiscate money. The officers charged her with attempted theft and impersonating a government official. The best part was watching her get handcuffed in front of the crowd that had gathered. Someone even took a video that ended up on social media. The store manager felt so bad about what happened that he bought 24 cookies and told all his employees about our business. We ended up having our best sales day ever. Word spread about the crazy woman who tried to steal from the cookie girls, and people kept coming by all afternoon to buy cookies and hear the story. We made over $200 that day. My sister still talks about how scared she was when Karen demanded the cash box, but she's proud that she didn't give in. And I learned that sometimes standing up to bullies leads to the best possible outcome. Karen definitely picked the wrong teenagers to mess with that day. Story 2. Let me give you some background first. I work as a receptionist at Peaceful Rest Chapel, one of the nicer funeral homes in our city. I've been there for about 3 years now, and in that time, I've seen pretty much everything. Grieving families, awkward distant relatives who show up out of nowhere, and yes, occasionally some real pieces of work. But nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday. The day started normally enough. We were hosting a service for an elderly gentleman who had passed away after a long battle with cancer. His family had been wonderful to work with during the planning process. His daughter and son-in-law were handling most of the arrangements, and they'd specifically requested a simple but elegant service. The flower arrangements they ordered were beautiful white lilies and roses, exactly what the deceased had wanted according to his final wishes. About an hour before the service, this woman walks in. She's dressed inappropriately for a funeral: bright pink blazer, loud jewelry, and she's talking on her phone like she's conducting business. I assumed she was just running late and trying to wrap up some important call before paying her respects. The service itself was lovely. The pastor gave a heartfelt eulogy, family members shared touching memories, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was exactly the kind of send-off the family had hoped for: dignified, personal, and full of love. The flower arrangements looked perfect positioned around the casket. That's when things went sideways. As people were filing out and offering their condolences to the family, this woman, let's call her Karen because that's exactly what she was, marched straight up to my desk. Her face was red, and she had this indignant expression that immediately put me on alert. Karen, excuse me, I need to speak to your manager right now. Me, I'm sorry for your loss. Is there something I can help you with? Karen, your loss. Ha! The only loss here is my wasted time. That was the most depressing thing I've ever sat through. I honestly thought I'd misheard her. We were at a funeral. Of course it was sad. Me, I'm not sure I understand. Is there a specific issue with our services? Karen, the whole thing was just so negative and gloomy. I mean, everyone was crying and carrying on like it was the end of the world. Where was the celebration of life? Where was the joy? I tried to explain that different families choose different types of services based on their traditions and what they feel is appropriate, but she cut me off. Karen, and another thing, I want a full refund for those flowers. They were wilted and completely wrong for the occasion. Lilies and roses. At a celebration of life? It should have been sunflowers and daisies, something cheerful. Now I was confused. I pulled up our records on the computer. Me, I'm sorry, but I don't see any flower order under your name. The arrangements were ordered and paid for by the immediate family. Karen, what do you mean? I specifically told someone on the phone that I wanted flowers for the service. Me, when did you call? And do you remember who you spoke with? Karen, I don't remember exactly when, but I definitely ordered flowers, and now I want my money back because they were completely inappropriate. At this point, I realized what was happening. This woman had somehow convinced herself that she'd ordered flowers when she hadn't, and now she wanted a refund for money she'd never spent. But before I could explain this to her, her voice got louder. Karen, this is ridiculous. I demand to speak to your manager. I'm never using this funeral home again, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows how terrible your service is. The daughter of the deceased, who had been accepting condolences near the chapel entrance, started walking over. She'd obviously heard the commotion. Daughter, excuse me, is there a problem here? Karen, yes, there's a huge problem. This place is completely unprofessional. The service was depressing, the flowers were wrong, and now they're refusing to give me a refund. The daughter looked confused, then turned to me. Daughter, I'm sorry, but who is this? I don't remember seeing her at the service. Me, she's asking for a refund on flowers that she says she ordered, but we don't have any record of her placing an order. The daughter's expression changed from confusion to anger. Daughter, wait a minute. You're complaining about my father's funeral being too sad, and you're trying to get money for flowers you didn't even pay for. By now, several other family members and friends had gathered around. Karen seemed to realize she was outnumbered, but instead of backing down, she doubled down. Karen, look, I'm a distant cousin or something. I have every right to be here, and I have every right to expect quality service. This whole thing was just depressing and poorly organized. The son-in-law stepped forward. Son-in-law, I've never seen you before in my life, and even if you were related, how dare you complain about our funeral being sad? We just buried a beloved father and grandfather. Karen, well, maybe if you'd planned something more uplifting instead of this doom and gloom fest, people would feel better about the whole thing. That was the final straw. Several people started talking at once, all of them directed at Karen. Various voices, who do you think you are? Get out of here. This is disgusting. Have some respect. The pastor, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. Pastor, ma'am, I think it would be best if you left now. This family is grieving, and your behavior is completely inappropriate. Karen, fine, but I'm reporting this place to the Better Business Bureau, and I'm posting reviews everywhere about how terrible this funeral home is. Daughter, good luck explaining to people that you're upset because a funeral was sad and you couldn't get a refund for flowers you never bought. Karen stormed toward the exit, but she wasn't done yet. Karen, and for your information, those flowers looked cheap anyway. Son-in-law, those flowers cost $300 and were exactly what Dad requested. But you wouldn't know that since you didn't pay for them. As Karen reached the door, she turned around one last time. "Karen, you'll be hearing from my lawyer." "Me, ma'am. We have security cameras that recorded this entire conversation. I don't think a lawyer is going to help you here." That finally shut her up. She left without another word, slamming the door behind her. The family apologized to me profusely, even though they had nothing to apologize for. The daughter even wrote a lovely thank you note later that week, specifically mentioning how professional our staff was during the whole ordeal. As for Karen, she never called back, never left any reviews, and certainly never contacted a lawyer. Sometimes the best comeuppance is just letting entitled people embarrass themselves in front of a room full of witnesses who will remember exactly what kind of person they really are. The whole incident reminded me why I actually love my job. Yes, we deal with sadness and grief every day, but we also get to help families honor their loved ones with dignity and respect. And occasionally, we get to watch karma work in real time when someone tries to take advantage of grieving people. I still can't believe someone had the audacity to demand a refund for flowers they never bought at a funeral they complained was too sad. But then again, entitled people never cease to amaze me with their complete lack of self-awareness. Story 3. I've been delivering food for about 2 years now. Started doing it after I lost my job at the warehouse when they automated half the positions. The pay isn't amazing, but it keeps me afloat while I figure out my next move. I've seen some weird stuff on this job, but nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday afternoon. I was having a decent day. Got a ping for a pickup at one of those popular burger joints downtown. The place usually has their orders ready fast, so I was looking forward to a quick in and out situation. I pulled into the parking lot and immediately noticed something was off. There was a line of cars stretching way past the drive-through lane and into the street. I'm talking like 15 cars just sitting there, engines running, not moving at all. At first I figured maybe their system was down or they were swamped with orders. But then I saw her. Right at the front of the drive-through lane, completely blocking the ordering speaker, was a bright red sedan. Not pulled up to the speaker like you're supposed to, but literally parked sideways across the entire lane. The driver was nowhere to be seen. I parked in a regular spot and walked toward the restaurant entrance. That's when I saw her coming out of the building, carrying a large drink and looking completely unbothered by the chaos she'd created. Karen was probably in her 40s, wearing workout clothes and those expensive sunglasses that cost more than I make in a week. She strolled toward her car like she owned the place. The car right behind hers had their window down, and the driver was clearly frustrated. "Driver, excuse me, you can't park there. This is the drive-through lane." Karen stopped and turned around with this incredulous look on her face. "Karen, I'm not parking. I'm a customer. I just went inside to order because I'm tired and didn't want to wait in line." "Driver, but you're blocking everyone. We've been sitting here for 20 minutes. "Karen, that's not my problem. I was here first." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I pulled out my phone and started recording because I had a feeling this was about to get interesting. More drivers were getting out of their cars now. A guy in a pickup truck walked up, looking pretty steamed. "Pickup guy, lady, you need to move your car right now. People are trying to get to work." "Karen, don't you dare tell me what to do. I'm a paying customer and I have every right to be here." "Pickup guy, you have the right to use the drive-through properly, not block it." "Karen, I'll move when I'm ready to move. I'm waiting for my order." A woman from further back in the line joined the conversation. "Woman, why didn't you just wait in line like everyone else?" "Karen, because I didn't want to sit in my car. It's hot and I'm tired from my workout. I needed to stretch my legs." "Woman, so you blocked 20 cars because you needed to stretch?" "Karen, I don't owe you people any explanations." By this point, cars were honking constantly. Some people were backing out and leaving, which was creating even more chaos in the parking lot. I kept recording because this was absolutely insane. A restaurant employee came outside. Poor kid looked terrified. "Employee, ma'am, I'm sorry, but you really can't park in the drive-through lane. It's causing a huge backup. Karen, where's your manager? I want to speak to your manager right now. Employee, he's inside. But your order isn't ready yet anyway. It'll be about 10 more minutes. Karen, then I'll wait right here until it is ready. She got back in her car and just sat there. The honking got louder. People were shouting from their cars. Someone called the police. About 5 minutes later, a cop showed up. He walked over to Karen's car and knocked on her window. Officer, ma'am, I need you to move your vehicle. You're blocking traffic and creating a safety hazard. Karen rolled down her window just a crack. Karen, I'm a customer. I have every right to be here. Officer, you can be a customer, but you can't block the drive-through lane. You need to park in a regular spot. Karen, I already ordered. My food is coming. I'm not moving. Officer, ma'am, if you don't move your car voluntarily, I'm going to have to call a tow truck. Karen, you wouldn't dare. I know my rights. The officer stepped back and made a phone call. 20 minutes later, a tow truck arrived. That's when things really got entertaining. Karen got out of her car screaming. Karen, you can't tow my car. This is illegal. I'm calling my lawyer. Tow truck driver, sorry lady, police ordered the tow. Cars blocking traffic. Karen, I am a taxpayer. I pay your salary. You work for me. The tow truck driver just ignored her and started hooking up her car. Karen was having a complete meltdown, screaming about lawsuits and police brutality and how this was discrimination. Karen, this is because I'm a woman, isn't it? You men always stick together. Officer, ma'am, this has nothing to do with your gender. You are blocking a traffic lane. Karen, I want your badge number. I'm reporting all of you. The whole time, I'm getting everything on video. Karen noticed me recording and marched over. Karen, delete that right now. You don't have permission to film me. Me? Actually, this is a public place. I can film whatever I want. Karen, I'll see you too. Give me that phone. She actually tried to grab my phone, but I stepped back. The officer intervened. Officer, ma'am, step away from him. He's not doing anything wrong. By now, her car was loaded on the tow truck. The driver was ready to leave. Tow truck driver, car's going to the impound lot on 5th Street. You can pick it up after you pay the fees. Karen, how much are the fees? Tow truck driver, towing fee, storage fee, and the police fine. Probably around $400. Karen's face went completely white. She stood there screaming as the tow truck drove away with her car. I posted the video on social media that night. By morning, it had thousands of views. By the end of the week, it was everywhere. People were sharing it, making memes, adding funny music. Karen became the face of entitled behavior. The best part? Someone figured out who she was and found her other social media posts. Turns out she had posted earlier that day about how she was too good for drive-through lines and how regular rules didn't apply to people like her. The restaurant actually reached out to thank me. They said the video helped them show corporate how badly designed their parking lot was, and they ended up getting funding to expand it. As for Karen, I heard she hired a lawyer to try to get the video taken down, but it was too late. The internet had already done its thing. Sometimes justice comes in the form of a tow truck and a viral video. Story 4. I work as a Transportation Security Administration agent at one of the busiest airports in the country. Been doing this job for about 8 years now, and I thought I'd seen it all. People trying to bring weapons through security, folks getting angry about having to remove their shoes, travelers who think the rules don't apply to them. But nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday. I'd been working the morning shift, starting at 4 a.m. like usual. It was one of those crazy busy days where flights were getting delayed left and right because of weather issues on the East Coast. The terminal was packed with frustrated passengers, and everyone was on edge. My supervisor had already warned us that it was going to be a long day. Around 10 a.m., I was stationed at Checkpoint 3 when I heard this commotion coming from the departure gates. At first, I didn't think much of it. Airports are noisy places, and people get upset about delays all the time. But then I heard the emergency alarm start blaring, and that's when I knew something was seriously wrong. The alarm was the kind that means immediate lockdown. Every agent in the building knows that sound, and it makes your blood run cold. Within seconds, our radios were crackling with urgent messages from the gate areas. Dispatcher, all units, we have a security breach at gate 47. Passenger has opened an emergency exit door. Terminal lockdown is now in effect. My heart started racing. Opening an emergency exit at an airport isn't just stupid, it's potentially deadly and definitely illegal. I grabbed my radio and headed toward the gate area with 2 other agents. When we got there, the scene was chaos. Airport police were already on their way, and passengers were being moved away from the gate. But in the middle of it all was this woman probably in her 40s, well-dressed, with blonde hair that looked like she'd just come from a salon. She was standing right next to the emergency exit she'd pried open, and she was screaming at everyone within earshot. "Karen, this is ridiculous. I have a connecting flight to catch. Do you people have any idea who I am?" My colleague, an agent who's been doing this job even longer than me, approached her calmly. "We're trained to de-escalate situations, even when dealing with people who've just committed federal crimes." Agent: "Ma'am, I need you to step away from the exit and come with us." Karen: "I will not. I paid good money for my ticket, and I have rights. You can't keep me here when my flight is about to leave." That's when I realized what had happened. This woman had somehow convinced herself that opening an emergency exit was a reasonable solution to missing her connection. The exit led directly onto the tarmac, where ground crews were scrambling to figure out what was going on. "Ma'am, opening that exit has triggered a security protocol. The entire terminal is now on lockdown because of your actions." Karen: "I don't care about your stupid protocols. My flight to Miami leaves in 20 minutes, and I'm not missing it because you people can't do your jobs properly." The absurdity of the situation was almost overwhelming. She just caused a terminal-wide emergency that would delay hundreds of flights, including her own, and she was acting like we were the unreasonable ones. Agent: "Ma'am, that flight has been grounded along with every other aircraft in this terminal. No planes are moving until we can verify that there's no ongoing security threat." Karen: "Security threat? I'm not a terrorist. I'm a frequent flyer with platinum status. I know my rights." By this point, airport police had arrived, along with our supervisor and what looked like half the security team. The woman was completely surrounded, but she kept ranting about her rights and her important meeting in Miami. Supervisor: "Ma'am, you've triggered a federal security breach. You're under arrest." That's when she really lost it. She started screaming about lawsuits and demanding to speak to managers and insisting that she was going to have all of our jobs. The police officer was reading her rights, but she was talking over him the entire time. Karen: "This is harassment. I want your badge numbers. I'm calling my lawyer. You people have no idea the lawsuit that's coming your way." Police officer: "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Karen: "I don't need to remain silent. I need to get on my flight. This is America. I have rights." The irony was incredible. She kept talking about her rights while being arrested for violating federal law. The police officer was being incredibly patient, but you could tell he was getting tired of her nonsense. As they were putting handcuffs on her, she made one last desperate attempt to justify her actions. Karen: "All I did was open a door. It's not like I hurt anyone. This is completely blown out of proportion." Ma'am, that door triggers automatic security protocols. Opening it without authorization is a federal crime. The terminal lockdown will last at least 2 hours while we investigate. You should have seen her face when the reality finally hit her. Not only was she under arrest, but she'd caused exactly the kind of delay she was trying to avoid, except now it affected thousands of people instead of just her. As the police led her away, she was still yelling about her platinum status and threatening lawsuits. Other passengers who had been watching the whole thing were shaking their heads in disbelief. Some were taking videos with their phones. The aftermath was even more satisfying than the arrest itself. The terminal lockdown lasted 3 hours, while bomb-sniffing dogs checked the entire area and maintenance crews inspected the emergency exit. Her flight to Miami? Delayed until the next day. Her connecting flight, she missed it entirely. But here's the best part. When the local news picked up the story that evening, they interviewed some of the passengers who had been delayed. Turns out, one of them was a federal prosecutor who explained in detail exactly what charges she was facing. Opening an aircraft door, interfering with airport security, and causing a security breach could land her in federal prison for up to 20 years. The whole incident reminded me why I actually loved this job, despite all the stress and crazy hours. Most people follow the rules and understand that airport security exists for everyone's safety. But every once in a while, you get someone who thinks they're above the law, and watching them face the consequences is incredibly satisfying. I never found out what happened to her in court, but I do know that her platinum frequent flyer status got revoked, and she's now on the no-fly list for multiple airlines. Her 20-minute connection to Miami ended up costing her years of travel privileges and probably tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. Sometimes the system really does work exactly the way it's supposed to. Story 5. I've been working at Golden Dragon Buffet for 3 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. People sneaking food out in purses, kids throwing spring rolls at each other, customers complaining that our Chinese food isn't authentic enough while piling their plates with General Tso's chicken. But nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday. I started working here right after high school when I couldn't afford college. My manager is pretty cool, and the pay isn't terrible, plus I get free meals during my shifts. I was saving up to eventually take some business classes at the community college. The job taught me patience, especially dealing with difficult customers, but this particular incident tested every ounce of that patience. It was around 2 p.m., the usual slow period between lunch and dinner rush. I was wiping down tables in Section 3 when I heard this high-pitched yapping coming from near the entrance. I looked up and saw a middle-aged woman with bleached blonde hair walking in with what looked like a rat in a tiny pink sweater. It was actually a chihuahua, but barely bigger than my fist. The hostess approached her politely. "Hostess, ma'am, I'm sorry, but we don't allow pets in the restaurant." "Karen, this isn't a pet. This is my emotional support animal. I have anxiety, and I need him with me at all times." The hostess looked confused and glanced over at me. I walked over to help. "Me? I understand you might need support, but we have health department regulations about animals in food service areas. Only registered service dogs are allowed." "Karen, this is a service dog. He's trained to detect my panic attacks." As if on cue, the tiny dog started barking at a toddler walking by with his mom. The kid started crying, and the mom shot us an annoyed look. "Me, ma'am, service dogs are trained not to bark or cause disruptions. I'm going to have to ask you to." "Karen, don't you dare discriminate against me. I know my rights. This is a legitimate emotional support animal, and you can't refuse me service." She stormed past us toward the buffet, the dog still yapping in her arms. I followed her, knowing this wasn't going to end well. My manager was in the office doing paperwork, and I didn't want to escalate things unless absolutely necessary. At the buffet line, Karen set the dog down on the floor while she grabbed a plate. The chihuahua immediately started jumping up on the buffet's sneeze guards, trying to reach the food. Other customers backed away, looking disgusted. Elderly customer, "Excuse me? Is that dog supposed to be in here?" "Karen, mind your own business. He's a working animal." The working animal was now sniffing around the floor under the sneeze guards, looking for dropped food. A little girl pointed at the dog and squealed with delight, which made the chihuahua bark even louder. I approached Karen again. "Me, ma'am, your dog is causing a disturbance and potentially contaminating our food service area. I really need to ask you to leave." "Karen, I'm not going anywhere. I paid for this buffet, and I'm eating here. You can't kick out disabled people. Me. I'm not asking you to leave because of any disability. I'm asking because your dog is not behaving like a trained service animal, and it's disrupting other customers. She started loading her plate aggressively, glaring at me the whole time. The dog was now trying to eat something off the floor near the fried rice station. Karen, you people are all the same. No respect for people with real medical conditions. At this point, other customers were starting to complain. A family with young kids moved to a table on the other side of the restaurant. An older couple asked to speak to the manager. I went to get my manager, who came out looking tired but professional. Manager, what seems to be the problem here? Karen, your employee is discriminating against me and my service dog. I'm going to sue this place. Manager, ma'am, I can see your dog isn't wearing a service vest or any identification. Can you tell me what specific tasks your dog is trained to perform? Karen, he alerts me to panic attacks, and he provides emotional comfort. Manager, I understand, but emotional support animals aren't the same as service dogs under the law. Service dogs need specific task training. I'm going to have to ask you to finish your meal and leave, or take your food to go. That's when Karen completely lost it. Karen, fine, you want me to leave? I'll leave, but I'm taking what I paid for. She started grabbing handfuls of food from the buffet and shoving it in her purse. When my manager tried to stop her, she picked up an entire tray of sweet and sour chicken and hurled it at him. He ducked, and the tray crashed into the wall behind him, sending orange sauce everywhere. The whole restaurant went silent except for the Chihuahua, who was still barking hysterically. Karen, you can't treat people like this. I'm calling the health department. I'm calling the news. She spun around dramatically to storm out, but stepped right into the puddle of sweet and sour sauce she'd just created. Her feet went out from under her, and she went down hard, landing on her back in the orange goop. The dog, startled by the commotion, jumped onto her chest and started licking the sauce off her face. The silence stretched for about 5 seconds before a few customers started snickering. Then someone's kid said loudly, "Kid, Mommy, why is the lady swimming in the orange stuff?" That broke the dam. Half the restaurant started laughing. Karen tried to get up but kept slipping in the sauce. Every time she got to her hands and knees, she'd slide back down. The tiny dog wasn't helping, running in circles around her and barking like he was trying to save her from drowning. Finally, my manager and I helped pull her up. She was covered head to toe in sweet and sour sauce, her bleached hair dripping orange. Her white pants and blouse were completely ruined. Karen, this is assault. You made me fall on purpose. Manager, ma'am, you threw the food yourself. We have security cameras that recorded everything. She looked around at all the people staring and laughing, grabbed her sauce-covered dog, and waddled toward the exit, leaving orange footprints the whole way. Karen, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. As she reached the door, she tried to make one final dramatic exit, but her wet shoes squeaked loudly against the tile floor with each step. The automatic door took forever to open, so she stood there squeaking in place while covered in sauce, holding an equally messy Chihuahua. After she left, the restaurant erupted in applause. One customer even offered to pay for our cleaning supplies. My manager gave me the rest of the day off with pay and said he'd handle the cleanup. We never heard from Karen's lawyer, but we did get a 5-star review on Yelp from someone who witnessed the whole thing. They called it dinner and a show. We also invested in better non-slip mats for the buffet area, though I don't think that would have helped in this particular situation. The funniest part? 2 days later, Karen left a 1-star review online claiming we assaulted her and her certified therapy dog. She forgot to mention that she was the one throwing food around. The review got so many laughing emoji reactions that it actually helped our overall rating.